Hey everyone, I'm Rod and Todd, a professional YouTuber who makes professional videos. And it's Tuesday, which means it's time for another Transformer review. So here we go. This is WFC-S18 Laserbeak, and this is WFC-S18 Ravage. They were released in the Micromaster size class as part of Wave 2 of the War for Cybertron Siege toy line. As always, we'll start with the alternate mode. So yeah, these are rectangles. This is going to be one of the most confusing reviews ever, by the way. I don't know how to phrase anything. So yeah, their alternate modes are rectangles. The instructions actually have names for these. They are the V1 and V2 Sonic Surge Drone Armor. What these are meant to be are the classic cassette modes that Laserbeak and Ravage are known for turning into. Of course, since this is Siege, they're supposed to have Cybertronian forms, and obviously cassettes don't exist on Cybertron probably, so these are just alien box things. These things are pretty much useless on their own. Of course, the back of the card and the instructions, they market these as shields. Basically, each one has a little peg that flips out from the bottom, and this peg is compatible with the holes that are in every Siege figure. Of course, the back of the card shows them a Soundwave because they're known for partnering up with Soundwave. But I don't have Siege Soundwave. However, I do have the Walmart exclusive Netflix Soundwave, so I'll be pairing them up with him. As you can see, there's just a little peg on the bottom. With Laserbeak, it's more like a rectangle thing than a circle. There's, of course, the hole in his arm there, and it just attaches. And then on Ravage, you have the peg there, and hole here, and it just slots in there. So the stability of this it kind of varies depending on the figure. On my Soundwave, it's a very tight connection. These stay in very well. However, I've attached these on Megatron before, and well, I think it was Laserbeak stayed in really well, or I know one of them stayed in really well, but the other was super loose. So I guess it really just depends on the figure that you're pairing them up with. Yeah, it's really all I have to say about that. It's not the most substantial thing ever. Really, the only reason they can do that is because they need something to do if you don't have a Soundwave. Which, of course, I actually got these because they were on sale. It was some sort of like half-off deal at Target, so that's why I got both of these guys. Of course, I didn't have Siege Soundwave when I got them, so I just paired them up with my Megatron for some reason. And I wanted to get Siege Soundwave, but I really never did. So when they announced this Soundwave, of course I got him. But unfortunately, this Soundwave was also sold as part of a 3-pack with Laserbeak and Ravage, who were given a few new parts to make them look more cartoon accurate. So I actually don't display these guys on my shelf at all. I just kind of have them out of the way where you can't see them, and I have this Soundwave with the other versions of Laserbeak and Ravage. And of course, them being cassettes, they're designed to interact specifically with Soundwave. These can be inserted into Soundwave's chest compartments, just like in the original cartoon, and a lot of other Soundwave toys. Again, it's supposed to be the same, or supposed to be used with Siege Soundwave, but Netflix Soundwave operates on the same principle. You just open up the chest door, and I've really noticed that it really only fits in a certain way. You have to put Ravage in like this, and you can see him in the clear chest door. It looks pretty cool. So you can have it be like the cartoon where you would go Ravage, eject. Of course, sometimes it doesn't really work, but there you go. Ravage, eject, and he would fly out and transform. But you can do the same with Laserbeak. Just get him in there. Laserbeak, eject. That one works a bit better. If you want it to be like the cartoon where you'd open the chest door and it would fly out, this one works better. Not very cool, but it works better. I don't think that was intentional, but whatever. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Soundwave, we're here to talk about these guys. So, there's one other thing I have to say about these little rectangles. They have some really good sculpting and paint apps. Like, just look at Laserbeak here. There's a lot of really nice, intricate detail I really appreciate about this figure. And with Ravage, you can see there's some really nice silver paint. It just looks good. That's what I'm saying. So, that's really all I had to say about the alternate modes. So now let's move on to the robot modes. So here they are in the robot modes. Let's start with Laserbeak. So Laserbeak, if you don't know, he's Soundwave's iconic partner in the cartoon. Same with Ravage. Soundwave had an army of these little robots that would pop out of his chest and basically serve as his minions, and Laserbeak is definitely the most iconic of those, because he was the one that would always be used the most. And he's this robotic bird thing. Of course, of note, this figure does not have the standard Laserbeak head. Laserbeak normally has this like this normal bird-looking head with two separate eyes and a big long beak. But this Laserbeak has a different head. He has this yellow visor thing, which is actually a reference to the original Generation 1 cartoon, because in the first episode of that show, some of the Transformers had Cybertronian modes, Wheeljack, Bumblebee, Soundwave, and Jazz, and then Laserbeak. And Laserbeak, in his Cybertronian mode, had a head that looked very similar to this. The rest of it looks like it's supposed to, but the head looks like the cartoon. He has this big silver box on his back, which you can't really see it well, but it does have the Decepticon symbol on there. You can kind of see it in the center there. And I believe this is supposed to be like his little guns that are on his back, because normally he has guns on his back, but this is a box. Yeah, I don't really know what purpose this serves. He doesn't really have much in the line of articulation. Basically, the only true articulation is at the neck. You can move it up, and then there. So you can have his head like this. You can peck at things. You can peck at the ground if you really want him to. That's kind of cute. And of course, I should mention, as with a lot of my other Transformers figures that have metal pins, especially on the smaller guys, it's been a problem that's plagued me for years, is that you can see the pin is supposed to be this shiny silver. However, it's kind of a bit rusty. And I've never immersed this thing in water in any way. At least I don't think I have. And this has been a problem that's plagued my Transformers figures for years. My old Transformers Prime figures, a lot of the metal axles on them are completely rusted. And my best guess is just age is the result of that, but I don't really know. He has two pegs on his back right there. Those are like jet thrusters, but it looks of things you can attach blast effects there. However, I forgot to get that down, and I'm not going through the effort of getting up and getting it. So if you want to see for yourself, just grab an effect piece, grab Laserbeak, and attach it on the back there. You can flap his wings, I guess, count that. And of note is that Soundwave can interact with this figure in the robot mode. If you pose his arm like this, he has these little pegs on his feet that line up with corresponding holes in Soundwave's arm. So you can have Laserbeak perching on his arm like he would in the cartoon, which is just a really nice little bonus. That is cool. So that's really all I have to say about Laserbeak. So now let's move on to Ravage. So Ravage, if you don't know, is another one of Soundwave's minions. Probably the second most iconic, just underneath Laserbeak. So it makes sense that these two are sold together. He is a black jaguar. Most people think he's like a wolf or a dog or something, but he is supposed to be a jaguar. That was always the intention. And in terms of articulation, got a bit of articulation at the head. Move his head down. At the feet there and there. Sort of. Kind of move that forward. And then more articulation at the knees. You can move that back a bit. But really, most of this is just because of the transformation. And of course, as with pretty much every quadrupedal transformer ever, it is a pain in the butt to get him to stand. So this figure spontaneously falls down. Yeah. One of the main problems I have with this figure is it just doesn't really look like Ravage, in my opinion. Ravage has always been this long, slender, black cat. However, this is a bit wider. I think my main problem is that if you look at it from the side, it has this tiny little head and these big rectangles on both sides of his body with these really tiny little gray legs. It just looks weird. Of course, he has his little back cannons. Ravage has always had cannons mounted on the backs of his legs. So there's these tiny little silver tubes sculpted in there. Of course, you cannot attach the effect pieces on them because these are too small for that. There's the Decepticon symbol on his leg. Can't really see it. And then on the other leg. And as with Laserbeak, there's a bit of rusting present on the pegs. I don't know what the cause of that is. Could just be age, exposure to the elements. I don't know. All I know is that I have definitely taken the utmost care of these figures. I just don't know what's causing them. If you know what the cause is, let me know. So, that's really all I have to say about Laserbeak and Ravage. I'm not the biggest fans of these figures, and they're a bit redundant considering I have a second Laserbeak and a second Ravage figure with new heads. So I really don't have use for these guys anymore. And really, these guys aren't too useful on their own. They're really just meant to be displayed with Soundwave, and that's it. So, really, I guess final thoughts. I do really like the sculpting and stuff. The paint's really good on these figures. It's really cool they can interact with a Soundwave figure. You don't get that very often in modern Transformers lines, so that's always cool. Laserbeak is probably my favorite of the two, just because he looks a little more aesthetically pleasing, at least to me. That is kind of cool. They homage the original cartoon with that head. So, really, I have to say these are just meh figures for me. They're not my favorite, but there certainly have been other Transformers figures I'd say are worse than this. So, that was my review of Laserbeak and Ravage. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe and turn on notifications and all that stuff. We are on the road to 100 subscribers. Hoping we can do that by year's end. That would be great. So, do your part, subscribe, and help us get to 100. So, tune in next week as we move on to the Wave 2 Deluxe class figures as we review the female Autobot, Chromia. This has been Rod and Todd, signing out.